All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of Saber Sims DFS office hours. It is Wednesday, December 6th of 2023. Looking ahead, we have an 11-game NBA slate as well as a 4-game NHL slate, and then we have NFL returning tomorrow. So it should be a fun day. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew. I'm one of the coaches over here at Saber Sim. This is a show where we go over how to use the Saber Sim app, answer any and all DFS related questions. You can get your questions in one of three ways. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second way, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there's a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, our individual sport channels, and you get access to our release notes channel, see when updates go live to the app, see when bugs are fixed, etc. here. So a lot of communication happens in the Discord. But with that said, I did have one follow-up from yesterday that I did want to clarify. So somebody was asking if late swap pools are downloadable. Right now, they are not, but I did mention it to the team. So they are aware that is something that people are requesting. So they're going to take that into account when making further iterations to the app in the future here. So anytime you guys have a feature request, please feel free to share it, and I'm happy to take those back to the team. But before we get started, as always, want to remind you guys about our weekly Max Challenge. It is a promotion / giveaway we do during the NFL season here. It is completely free to enter. All you got to do is follow these eligibility requirements down here on the bottom. Use the green enter the challenge button to fill out our form so we can send you awesome prizes when you win. Get access to weekly prizes, season-long prizes if you've been playing here throughout the season with us. So make sure you're playing and taking advantage of this giveaway. It's one of our best giveaways of the year. But with that said, we're going to get Saber Sim pulled up here. A couple questions to get us going. We have two in the Discord, one in the YouTube chat. If you guys have any questions, now is always a great time to get those in. So looks like first question here from Big Time Timmy said, when building NBA lineups, is there a quicker way to tell Saber Sim that I want 3 players from the 10 p.m. games? For example, in case I am interested in late swap, or is the best way to create a group saying use exactly 3? Yeah, what I honestly would do just to like quickly do this is I would just go to my lineup rules. I would go to add new rule. I would go to group manual, say use at least 3. And then I would just go to the last game on the slate, just whatever the latest game is. It doesn't really matter. You don't care what players are being used. You're just using this as a placeholder. So just go to the last game on the slate, go to manual group rule, filter for the 2 teams, and then just check these guys in. So then all you're doing is you're making sure you have enough salary and positions available for late swaps that you might want to make later in the night. And maybe I just select everybody over 20 points and I'm going to say, hey, use at least 3 of these guys, save that as my rule, and then I should be all set. But really, the point of it is it doesn't really matter who, just making sure that you're getting some high salary players in there. You're getting some position availability. One thing that SaberSim is going to do is that it is going to put the players in the later game into your flex spots. So your guard position, your forward position, your utility position, all those positions are going to be filled by the players in the later game. So SaberSim automatically takes that into account for you as well. But that's what I would do. Just click manual group role, pop those guys in, and then you should be all set. All right. Next question here. Question says, can you show us a filter or a metric that can help optimize sim ROI, but also find players with lower ownership? This has been a problem for me, especially in showdowns. Okay, yeah, let's talk about some showdown strategy here. So, obviously duplication is still important in showdowns here. And although you are using contest sims, let's talk about, some of the drawbacks here, right? So in our field lineups, in our preset field lineups that create our ownership projection, that there's only 10,000 of those. So if you're playing NFL Showdown and there are, 70,000 entries, 100,000 entries, well, the contest sim is only taking into account 10,000 of what we perceive to be lineups that the field is going to play. So from that point, I mean, really, you're asking like, hey, how do we find players with lower ownership? Basically, you're asking, hey, how do I find more, less duplicated lineups? How do I create lineups that are less duplicated? And there's really three things that I use myself here to try and build lineups that are less duplicated. One is lineup construction, two is salary, and then three is geometric mean. So we have a great tutorial here on geometric mean. If you go up to the top right, you go to help, go into our support library, in frequently asked questions, click view more. So it'll take you to all of our articles. Type in geometric. Then we have this 4-minute video. This is good for all Saber Sim plans. It'll teach you how to use it on the standard plan, how to use it on the pro plan, how to use it on the ultimate plan, how to set it up as a rule, how to set it up as a filter, how to set up your custom metrics. So this is like everything that you need to know here. So I'm going to drop this in the chat. I'm also going to drop this in a thread here, just directly responding to you. So this is one thing that I like to use. And the reason I like to use it is because regardless of how many field lineups there are, the geometric mean formula takes into account the total number of entries in your contest. So that's super important, is that, geometric mean is going to do a product ownership formula that accounts for how many total entries there are in your contest. So that's one really good reason to use that. Another thing that I like to do is, say that we're playing the NFL slate tomorrow. I like to have an idea. I like to gather information about what the field is most likely to do. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to set up your build in optimizer mode, set min salary to 0, and then just build some lineups here that are basically the cash optimals, right? And then if you do that, you're going to be able to see what the field is most likely to do. So in this game where Pittsburgh is favorited, low game total, what is the field likely to do here? And then I could just really just come over to my exposures and then see like, hey, who are the popular captains? Okay. A lot of people are probably going to play Ezekiel Elliott in the captain. And then what are the common stat constructions? So I don't care about stack exposures. I care about who's favorited, right? So it doesn't look like there's a lot of 5-1s in either direction. There's a little bit of Pittsburgh 4-2s, but it looks like a lot of these lineups are going to be even. They're going to be a lot of 3-3 stacks. So that's important information to gather, right? And then you could take those things into account when you go and build your own lineups. Like, okay, Ezekiel Elliott, probably a really popular captain. People are probably building a lot of even builds, a lot of 3-3s. So this is all information that you can have in your back pocket when you go to build your lineup. So I like to think like that, right? If I am building lineups that are different from the normal lineup construction, then that's going to give me a better chance of having lineups that are less duplicated. So we didn't see a lot of 5-1s in either direction right there, right? Maybe we work those in. And then the great thing is that when you're using Saber Sim, you're going to see how often these come up in your build percentages, right? So if I were to come in here and then build some lineups, so I'm going to build 200 lineups, right? I'm not saying get crazy with this. I'm not saying, go all in on the 5-1s, but there's going to be a number of those that show up in the sim naturally, and maybe you just use them at the rate that they show up. So people don't want to play 5-1s. Guess what? When I go and look, there are, about 15% of my lineups are a 5-1 in favor of Pittsburgh, and about 5% are a 5-1 in favor of the Patriots. Maybe I just match my pool exposures. Maybe I double my pool exposures, but I'm going to try and get some exposure to these lineup constructions that the field is less likely to play, rather than going and playing the constructions that they are likely to play. So it doesn't really come down to player ownership. It's going to come down to lineup construction. It's going to come down to, I guess like geometric mean does come down to ownership in some ways, but there's more than one way to get to what you're trying to get to. And then even you can just set like a salary filter, right? People are more likely to play higher salary lineups, especially if they're hand building. So maybe you say, hey, I don't want to play any lineups that are the max salary. And then you go to your filters, you go to add, and then say show lineups with salary less than, and we say 50,000. So maybe I'm going to, get rid of all of the max salary lineups, which that was only 3, right? So then, maybe you want to go further. Maybe so don't play any 49.9s either. And you can mess around with this. You can go as far as you want, but these are just ideas of things to think about when trying to build unique lineups in Showdown or less duplicated lineups in NFL Showdown. And it works for other forms of Showdown too. I don't think it doesn't apply for NBA, etc. But good question there. Jumping over to the YouTube chat. Question from M. Jackson. Exactly what effect does uploading custom ownership and / or custom projections have on the contest sim, and is it advisable? Great question. So the uploading custom projections will have an effect on the contest sim. So basically what happens is that we account for your custom projection adjustments on a player-by-player basis, and then that gets applied in the contest sim. So every time we run the contest sim, we are randomly sampling a single simulation. If we're staying in this Showdown example, we're taking a sim, we're playing it out, we're assigning the fantasy point values. When we go to assign the fantasy point values, if you had moved Ezekiel Elliott from 23 point, let's look at his flex. If you had moved Ezekiel Elliott from 15 points to 20 points, well, then when we assign the fantasy point value for him in the contest sim, we are going to, whatever score he got, if he got 7, we're going to give him a 5-point boost and make it 12. If he got 20, we're going to make it 25. So your custom projection gets added on top of our simulation output, and then that affects the actual score in the contest sim for that player, and then payouts get assigned accordingly. If you want to use custom ownership, so simply uploading custom ownership to Saber Sim will have no effect on the contest sim. What you have to do is you have to build a custom set of field lineups. So remember that the ownership projections are exposures from an ownership build. If you go to the contest tab and then you go to field lineups and you open this up, this is our ownership build here. And then you're going to see all of the lineups that were generated. And then if we open up the players tab here, you're going to see that, hey, these are the projections. These are the exposures that they came in at. And if we go and look, Ezekiel Elliott captain exposure 17.9. If I go back to my new build here and I go to captain, boom, we see Ezekiel Elliott at 17.9. So that is what you are seeing here in the app. So if you upload custom ownership, well, our source for our contest sim is still going to be the Saber Sim ownership field lineup. So what you need to do is you need to go into a build, you need to upload your custom ownership, and then go to my own, click on the gear icon, and then use the match exposure to ownership option. What this is going to do is it's going to look at the ownership, it's going to assign min-max exposures for each player here. And then after you do that, you run your build, and then this will create a custom set of field lineups. So then when you go to your contest sim, you go to your field lineup setting, you can select the build that has your custom field lineups in it. So what I do is, if I want to do that, I would just rename one of the builds and say my field. And then I'll go into a new build. I'll build my own lineups. And then when I go to my contest sim setting, I'll make sure the field lineups is my field. We have a video on this on the YouTube channel. If you go to playlists, you go to understanding contest sims, and then you go to using custom ownership with contest sims. This video breaks it down. I gave you guys the gist of it right here, but this one is a little more crisp. So you can check that out and learn how to do that. So check out that video, but that is how you do it. All right, next question here from Lighty said, what build settings and contest sims would be optimal for NBA satellite single entry 10 or less entrants? Good question. So what you could do is you could just manually create it. So if you go to your contest tab, right? And you go to contests, say we're on all contests. So by right-clicking and selecting add contest sim, basically we are just auto-filling contest size, percent to first, and percent entries paid for you. What you can do instead, let's do NBA tonight, for example. Let's go back to today. So rather than using one of the pre-generated ones, since you don't have one, what I would do is I would just go in here and I would enter the information. So then what I would say is contest size is 10, percent to first is 100, and percent of entries paid is 10%, right? Because 1 out of 10 people get paid, all the prizes going to first, and there are 10 people in this contest, and then you can up your number of sims to 100,000. And this will essentially be what you want. So I would just manually set those settings, and then you should be good to go. But very good question. All right. We are all caught up with questions in both the office hours channel and the YouTube chat here. So appreciate you guys tuning in as always. We will be right back here tomorrow, Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for our next show. So until then, everybody take care. Good luck. I will see you all. Thanks. Bye.